You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
Now your host of California MUFON Radio, Lorien Fenton.
Welcome everyone to the California MUFON Radio Show. I'm your host, Lorien Fenton. We're here tonight on Inception Radio Network. And as you all know, it's the home of my most favorite app on the whole planet. And I can't wait till next week, you guys. I'm so excited. I'm going to UFO Congress. A couple of people donated money last week to me, and I just want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. You know who you are. I'm going to announce it when I get to Congress who you guys were, if you want me to. And maybe I'll just say first names. That way nobody has to say, be feeling like they feel funny about having their name on the air. But I will next week when I'm live at UFO Congress mention the people that helped me out. And I really, really appreciate it, you guys. You got me a room for, I think, 3 or 4 nights. So this is great. And I found a person to share a room with. So, it's working out really, really well. And now I just got a job today doing some quick website work for somebody, and I'll get 100 or 2 from that. So, hey, we got gas money. So I think we're good. I think we're really good. So I think UFO Congress is going to be in my, I think all is well. I'm going to start packing, in other words. So I can't wait. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Next Wednesday night, we'll be live from UFO Congress. It'll be, I don't know who will be there. It's always a mystery to me. It's right after the cocktail parties. So everybody grabs their drinks and they just run over to my computer. So anything can happen, like last time I did that. So it'll be a lot of fun. So thank you, everyone who helped out. And if you do want to donate to me some more, just to make sure I'm fed and the cats are fed while I'm gone, that's always a big mystery, is whether the cats are going to get fed or not. You can donate to me at lorienfenton.com. That's Lorien Fenton, FENTON.com. And the website is brand new. I just threw it up last Wednesday. It has nothing on it except for a link to the donate button on the donate page. That's all it's got, folks. In a while it will. I've just been so busy building other people's websites and putting on UFO Con that I've just been so busy I can't even breathe. So okay, I'm going to breathe now. And I rolled in the door at like 5 minutes till, and it turned out that somebody had parked in my parking spot. So I had to go run around the neighborhood trying to find who it was that parked in my parking spot. So that was quite fun. Thank God they were right next door. So all is good. I'm here. Let's see. What else is going on? Oh, I spoke at the Conscious Life Expo this last weekend. And I want to thank anybody who's listening that was at my presentation. I want to thank you so much for being there. I met some wonderful people. And I got to tell you guys, I'm going to tell you a story. I hope that my guest tonight, Lisette Larkins, is just sitting there with a cup of coffee and getting ready for the show, because I'm going to take about 5 or 10 minutes here to tell you guys what happened. And I don't usually talk about stuff like this within the community, but I was livid. And I'm going to tell you guys why. There was literally smoke pouring out of my ears when I got to the room to speak, and this is the reason why. on Saturday night, I'm at the LA Conscious Life Expo, and I go to the party. There's a big party where George Norrie is, and Tom Danheiser, his producer, who's been on my show before, and Jim Mars, and oh my God, Palawa Harris, and Mike Barra, and gosh, the list goes on and on, you guys. I can't even remember who all was there. There was Nassim Harriman. I'm standing next to him. Let's see who else was there. Oh my God, I can't remember. Anyhow, there were Daniel Brinkley was there, and I got my big bear hug from Daniel, which is very important. I think everybody should get a bear hug from Daniel Brinkley once a year, just to keep your body tuned up and ready to go. I think I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not sure if that was my computer or MJ's. MJ, did you hear that ad? I'm just trying to figure out what just happened. It was the wildest thing, you guys. I just got some kind of... Nope. Okay. Sorry, folks. It must have been on my computer. It must have somehow started playing an advertisement for TurboTax. I don't know what that was all about. Okay, so, they must not want me to talk about this. That's what I'm thinking. That was just bizarre. I've never had that happen before. Interesting. Okay, so I'm at the party, and it's the end of the party. I didn't show up till the last 15 or 20 minutes of the party because, frankly, folks, I don't like those kind of parties. I'm not a big schmoozer. I don't like my picture taken with anybody, and all the people do in those parties, and I hate to say it, is they all stand around with their cell phones, hugging each other, taking pictures. It's like a selfie fest with with a star. Selfie fest with a star. And then they all run home and post it on Facebook. Oh, yes, I'm best buddies with so-and-so, and I'm just so not into it. I can't even stand it. I don't even like my picture up on my website, So anyhow, I'm sitting there, and at one point, I look up, and it's the very end, and Tom Danheiser is walking out the door, and he's not assaulted, but verbally, like, hi, I'm so-and-so, whatever, that kind of assault, I want to get to know you assault, and by this guy, and his name is Joe. And that's all I'm going to say about the rest of it at this point, because there's a court action happening, and you'll find out why here in a minute. And this guy named Joe is talking to Tom, and I flipped out, because this is the guy that stole everything from Jordan Maxwell. He stole his website. He stole all of his products. He goes daily on the internet, and I get these emails from jordanmaxwell.com on a daily basis, not daily, like 3 times a week. The Jordan Maxwell collection's on sale now, blah, blah, blah. And he makes it seem like it's Jordan Maxwell trying to make a buck. And so many people have fallen for this. Nobody out in the community really knows that Jordan was completely stolen from him. Everything he owns, everything he's ever produced, his website, and everything was stolen by this guy. Now, how it happened was because Jordan was being very naive at the time, and he doesn't understand computers, and he doesn't understand how all this stuff works. And Joe's family had taken Jordan in and was giving him a place to stay. And they said, you have to sign this contract. And it's, we need to start making some money off of you, Jordan, because, you're costing us so-and-so a month to take care of it. And Jordan agreed to it because, he understood that he wasn't paying rent, and he understood he wasn't paying for food, and, blah, 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 or whatever. I don't even know how it all worked out. But the bottom line is Jordan said, of course I will. So he signs this document, and it basically says that their production company owns everything he's ever produced, everything he's going to produce, and anything he does in the media, DVDs, blah, 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 whatever. So then, of course, the next thing they do, you guys, is they kick him to the curb and kick him out of the house. Now they've got everything he's ever done, everything he's going to do, and if he ever does anything again, it doesn't matter to them because they've got everything. Okay. Now, this is the part that made me go nuts. It's like, how can you even live with yourself? How can you look at yourself in the mirror? By the main guy in California that brought in David Icke for the first time. He brought a lot of people in when he was working with Fate magazine. I mean, Jordan goes back to the 80s and 70s, and he's like the granddad of the whole UFO and conspiracy community. And, I'm not saying he's a perfect saint. I am not a perfect saint. But man, I'm 57 years old, and if I was 80-some years old like he was when this happened to him, and I was living in my car because of it, and somebody had stole everything I'd ever worked in my whole life to do, I'd be depressed and angry. And he probably is, and I don't blame him if he is. So anyhow, I'm sitting there, and I'm at the party, and I see this happening. And it's kind of moving out into the hallway, and I'm watching it happen, and I'm just freaking out because I'm like going, why isn't this guy being pulled out of the building by security at this point, by the people putting on the conference? But, maybe it wasn't their call, and maybe they don't even know. But, half of the people in that room, or I'd say a third of the people in that room that are your name speakers, they all knew what was going on, and nobody else. And I didn't walk up and cause a scene. And, I could have kicked myself later. I thought, of all the people there, I have the cojones to do it. I should have done it. I was so mad at myself for not doing it. Anyhow, I thought, God, why didn't I do it? Why didn't I go there, grab him, make a big scene, call him a thief and a liar, and throw him out of the building? And I should have done it. I should have done it by myself, and I should have made a big stink, and everybody would have hated me because I would have caused a big stink, but I don't care. Anyhow, so now we're moving to Sunday, and I find out Sunday afternoon that Jordan Maxwell had actually walked in to try to go to that party and saw this Joe character there and turned around and walked out and went back to wherever he was staying, went home. So that was kind of sad when I heard that. And then at 4:00 in the afternoon, I'm speaking on Sunday, and I'm having a great time, by the way, you guys. I met some amazing people at this conference. I met some amazing experiencers, contactees, conspiracy people, mind control people. I met a ton of really cool people there. It was a wonderful time. But this is the part that just tore my heart to pieces. At 4:00 in the afternoon, I'm kind of heading out to go up to the room to start getting my stuff together to speak in one of the breakout rooms. And I run into Jordan in the hallway and in the lobby. And I grabbed his hand and I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "No, I'm not." And I said, "I'm not either." I said, "I'm really, really upset about what happened." And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "We'll talk about it later." And I gave him a big hug and a kiss and told him I loved him, and I thanked him for everything. And because, you guys, if it wasn't for Jordan Maxwell, to be honest with you, I would not be on the radio talking to all of you today. I don't know if many of you know my story, but in 2010, I went to the last Bay Area UFO Expo, and there I became good friends with Robert Perala and Jordan Maxwell. They were the two people that encouraged me and have always helped me and promoted me and helped me get out there. They've always backed me. They've always told me things to do. They've helped me. They've mentored me. They're just amazing guys, and Jordan has always been there for me. Now, I understand Jordan's a very controversial figure, but he's never treated me bad, and I've never had a problem with him, and he's just an amazing guy in my opinion. But that's one thing that I have different than a lot of people out there. I have extreme respect for my elders, whether they've been in this business for a long time or what have you. If they haven't done any thieving, stealing, lying, and cheating, like some of the people have in this community, which I do not go near with a 10-foot pole, everything that's ever happened to Jordan it's happened to him. It's not happened because of him. He's not caused any huge controversies. Anyhow, so I got into the room at 5:00, and of course, the steam is pouring out of my ears. Now, the funny part about it was the room was sweltering hot. If you were just sitting there, you were sweating. I was standing in the front, and I was boiling. Sweat was just pouring down my neck, and it was just ugly. So I was uncomfortable. I was very uncomfortable. And I just started laying into the group about what happened to Jordan Maxwell the night before. And I got to tell you, the best thing ever happened. not everybody in the room, but most people in the room were clapping and saying that, I was right, that something should be done. And what I had really talked about wasn't just the fact that it's not all the story about Jordan. It's about the fact that there's so many people in this community, the UFO conspiracy, whatever community, the consciousness community, whatever, where people are really starting to act like it's a cult. There's too many cultites in it. There's too many people following people around for no reason, getting their selfies with them, and they say the same thing over and over again. They spin it or twist it a little bit, and they steal everybody's research and whatever, and then they get up on stage and they're the end all and be all, and people are falling for it. See, this is the part that freaks me out. When I got into my talk at 5, I told everybody, don't follow me. Don't believe everything I say unless you hear it from 3 other people. Basically I said, don't do this. I don't want to be the guru. I don't want to be the person you guys come to. I don't want to be that. I want you guys to go find the truth within yourself, because that's where it really lies. And that's where you've got to go. You can learn from other people. You can take in their information, but this following them around and don't even get me started. Okay. I got to stop now because if I get going on this tangent, I may never stop. So, having said that, don't forget, everybody, you can see me at UFO Congress next week. Please come and introduce yourself. I'm doing something a little different for the Congress, the 3 days I'm broadcasting live. I'm going to not be interviewing the speakers at the conference as much as I'm going to be interviewing experiencers and vendors in the room, because there's some really amazing vendors that are going to be there that aren't speaking that you guys really need to hear. So I'm going to be doing that as well, and maybe only get like 5 or 6 speakers. I don't think I'm going to go for all 20 of them or whatever, because a lot of them have been on the show before, and frankly, some of them I'm just not that interested in. So I know that there's some really interesting people in that vendor room this year. So we'll have a good time. It'll be lots of fun, and I just can't wait till it happens. And then don't forget, UFO Con is coming up on March 28th and 29th in Northern California in Santa Clara, and I've got some really amazing people going to be there, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope you guys can make that as well. That's UFOcon2015.com, UFOcon2015.com. You can also go check out the MUFON.com website for the MUFON Symposium coming up in September 22nd through 25th, I believe are the dates. Not absolutely sure yet, but that's MUFON.com. Check out the MUFON Symposium coming up in the fall. Okay, I'm done. I got to stop it, because if I keep going, I'll just start getting angrier and angrier. Anyhow, one last comment about the whole Jordan thing. I saw him later in the evening after I was done with my presentation, and he did say something to me, and I'm going to say it. I don't know whether it was private or not, but he told me, he said, Lorien, you're the only one out of this whole conference that came up to me and said they were sorry about what transpired, and you're the only one who thanked me all these years for having, been your friend and helped you in the community. And I said, I can't believe that, Jordan. He goes, it's absolutely true. So you guys, it broke my heart. I was just miserable. My heart was breaking for Jordan, but he's strong. He'll survive. Everything will be good. But, we need to stand up for the people in the community that are older. And, another person that needs our help is Stephen Bassett. I don't agree with Stephen Bassett. I don't agree with what actually he's doing all the way around, because I believe disclosures happen, and I don't really care if the government tells me or not. But I believe in Stephen. He's like a pit bull. So I just really believe that he deserves all of our help and our prayers and our support. So he's another one that, I have a lot of respect for. So, okay, enough of me and enough of my gossip stories. Lisette, are you with me?
Yes.
Oh, gosh, I'm so glad to hear your voice. How are you doing?
Great. I'm great. I'm standing out here. It looks like I'm on the top of the world, looking at this beautiful, amazing, the lights of the city and the ocean at the Santa Monica Bay, and Catalina out in the distance. And this is the bay looking out and the Los Angeles airport is in the far, far distance with all the lights of the planes landing. And this is the bay where I often see UFO crafts going into the water.
Oh,
and it
cool.
It's so beautiful. And it just brings such an awe. And, why does it do that? And why does, when people have sightings of crafts and when we talk about our encounter experiences, what is it that calls to us? And I'd like to suggest that because it gives us a glimmer of who we are as universal beings, and it gives us hope, and it gives us courage, and most of all, it gives us a reminder that there is indeed this wonderful universal plan. Somehow, at some point, it will all make sense, and particularly in the interlife, after we do what we say, we call dying or dropping the body. And for me, that's what my extraterrestrial encounter experiences most provided me with, is a kind of a glimpse as to really the grand plan. And for that, I'm very grateful.
Oh, that's absolutely amazing. It is true, because I was just like, the times I wasn't upset at the conference this weekend, which was most of it, by the way. I wasn't upset the whole time. I met some amazing people that are experiencers down in your area, Lizette, and they were just absolutely fascinating people. They all have a very similar take on what's going on, that we're very close to the veil's being lifted, and we're being shown what is really going on in all the other dimensions that are parallel in existence with ours. And, the whole UFO and alien agenda and the whole 9 yards, I think we're very close to finding out what's actually going on without having to die to understand it. What do you think?
Well, if the purpose of being here on the planet is to strengthen the soul, if this is really this wonderful kind of training for all souls, and we're all thrown in together. So naturally, when you have the PhDs with the kindergartners, and you have very young souls in the beginning of their experience of incarnating, and you have wise older souls, and we're all in there together, it's going to be messy. It just is going to be messy. And so that's what that experience is when you describe discouragement at witnessing behaviors from younger souls who would seem to not have a comprehension of compassion. But the most amazing part of that for souls who are not conducting themselves in that way is to give us pause, and to give pause to all beings, because when we're all thrown in together, and it does at times feel extraordinarily discouraging. And from what I'm told, planet Earth, the majority of the population are at the very beginning of their incarnation.
Oh, really? That's amazing. Lizette, we just jumped in and nobody knows. I don't even think I said your last name. Lisette Larkins, folks. And Lizette, do you have a website where people can go and follow along with us tonight?
No, I'm kidding. I always want to say no. No, I do have a website. It's LisetteLarkins.com. And before I forget, because at the end of the show I might forget, Lorien, I hope you give me an address, and I would love to ship a bunch of books to your whatever event, more than one or whatever, and as my gift for you to give to people, just as my gift.
Oh, I'd love to do that, because, we always have raffles and stuff. So we'll, definitely, I would love that. Thank you so much for that. That's great.
So anyway, back to this whole idea of this, when we all are in that space that you're describing periodically, where it feels overwhelmingly discouraging when we behold the majority of our fellows who appear to be acting in ways that are, knuckleheads, right?
Yeah, so absolutely.
When we And one of the great ironies of this amazing training is that when we behold a knucklehead, that is when the real work begins. And that is when the mastery begins, right? So, ironically, we really can't learn what compassion is. We really cannot learn what tolerance is. And we really cannot learn what understanding is until we have been wronged. And it doesn't feel like it should be that way, but that's the way that it's set up. The way that it's set up is that we can most learn all of the faces of powerlessness by experiencing powerlessness. And so we each take turns playing these roles and in these wonderful acts in this grand play. And sometimes we get in these roles in which we're with others who have this opportunity of wrongdoing, and we feel wronged. And then the question is, what do we do with that? Now, this seems like a strange topic when we're talking about aliens, right?
Yeah, I don't know how we got here, but I'm enjoying every minute of it, so let's keep going.
Well, because people always want to know, well, what are the aliens, what's the point? What's the purpose of all these, So for me, when it started decades ago, and also as a child, I had my first contact experience at 7, and then fast forward again when I was a young mother, and I was blown out of my bed, and I had all of the typical, the on-board, face-to-face extraterrestrial contact experiences, and then all of the trauma that went along with that, the emotional trauma. Although there was no actual harm taking place, the harm was, the quote-unquote harm was that I was experiencing something in a cultural context which wasn't supposed to be happening. So I was traumatized. And, I did the psychiatric route. I was in a psychiatric hospital for 3 weeks. My then husband thought I was crazy. I lost custody of my child for 4 months. So I did experience a lot of trauma, and I did, in this lifetime, really get to know all the faces of powerlessness. And you want to talk about experiencing wrongdoing. So this is what was happening when I was starting to, be visited by these ET beings. And this group that I have been in contact with and have been in contact with me over these many, many years, this is an evolved group of beings. And so it's impossible not to answer the question when people say, what's the point of all this alien contact? And for me, the point of it all was that the veil was lifted and I was able to see the grand plan of the universe.
Wow. Okay, Lizette, I hate to do this, but we've hit our first break already. I can't believe I just looked down. It's 8:30. So it's time to take that break, and we'll be right back, and we're going to continue on where we are leaving off here, folks. So stay with us. Lisette Larkins is my guest tonight. Stay with us.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin. Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Just a reminder that Inception Radio Network is on Twitter. Follow us at I_R_N and keep up to date about who's on tonight, what interviews they'll be doing, who's guest spotting, what topics they'll be covering. Tweet to us, tweet about us, retweet topics to your friends, and most importantly, never miss a great show again. That's I_R_N.
Do you have a smartphone? If so, Inception Radio Network is the best app for you. Available on iTunes, Android, Samsung, and most other app stores. Just search Inception Radio Network. With the app you can listen live, check out podcasts of recent and past shows, view our videos, see what shows are coming up, who the guests are, and, via the chat room, send live questions to those guests. You know it makes sense. Check your app store now. Inception Radio Network. I'll see you there. Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Hello, I'm Pat Ustford, inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages every Monday evening at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com.
EPIC is Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council, the forum for scholars, experts, and those fascinated by and involved in the study of ancient civilizations, conspiracies, cryptozoology, ETs, and UFOs, fringe science, the paranormal, and all manner of extraordinary phenomena. Please join EPIC as we examine the mysteries of the world and beyond on epicvoyagers.com. And for updates on the upcoming interactive video presentations, the latest news and discussion on the EPIC forum, as well as research, investigations, and membership opportunities. Epic Voyages program schedule is on the Inception Radio Network. Thank you for joining us.
Howdy, this is Joe Mars. I'm inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com. That's epicvoyagers.com.
Hello, everyone. Lorien Fenton here, host of the California MUFON Radio Show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today. Welcome back, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show. I'm your host, Lorien Fenton. We're here on Inception Radio Network, and I hope that you guys are all becoming Insider Club members, because next week I'm going to start recording my first Insider Club shows. It's going to be a lot of fun, so I do hope you do that. I think it's $4.95 or $4.99 a month, and you can do it by clicking on InceptionRadioNetwork.com, and then I think you go to, I can never remember where to go. I know that you can get there somehow. I think you have to be a member. I'll tell you what, during the next break, I'm going to look it up, and I'm going to give you guys explicit instructions on how to do it so that you can become an Insider Club member, and then you'll be able to listen to these cool interviews that I'm going to be putting up there for you. Okay, so back to our guest tonight, Lisette Larkins, and it's spelled L-I-S-E-T-T-E, Larkins with an S, LARKINS.com is where you go to follow along with what we're talking about tonight. And let me see here, her books, oh my gosh, you guys, I didn't realize this. Lisette and I were just talking during the break, and I've been looking at Above and Beyond. Let's see, where's the homepage here? Let's get back to the homepage. Why is it not taking me to the homepage? That's so crazy. Oh dear. Okay, well anyhow, I was looking at the one book, and it turns out that Lisette has 5 books, and 3 of them are called Talking to Extraterrestrials, Calling on Extraterrestrials, and Listening to Extraterrestrials. So she's got 3 more books that I'm very interested in, and then she has another one that I have to have called Difficult People. And I don't know, we're going to ask her right now about why Difficult People is thrown in with the aliens. Lizette?
Oh, yes. Well, that's what we were talking about, is when we understand what we came here to do. Because remember, as I said, my contact experience, what I gained from that was I gained a remarkable comprehension of a universal life plan. So that's
okay.
Right. They produced an ability in me to have second sight in many different ways. So I was shown all kinds of things. I was shown this interlife. I was shown what our past lives has to do with the present. And so the whole key is, and this is why your intro was perfect, because it's about learning how to deal with difficult people, given that the majority of the Earth population are very early on in their incarnations. So, when we're going as to school and we're out on the playground, and Johnny over here is spitting spitwads at our back, what do we do with that? And really, that just about defines what our life is. We're overcoming one obstacle after the other. And I know that doesn't seem like the answer or the appropriate answer as to what did the aliens want you to know, but that in its many different kind of manifestations, and how we do that thing called living our life to the fullest and learning to overcome difficulties and obstacles. So, of course, I had to write a book called Difficult People, A Gateway to Enlightenment. And, why would it have that subtitle? It's because it is, in fact, the difficult people in our lives that squeeze us into growth, that those contracts are made long before birth. Those people who we're going to encounter, the most difficult among them, are usually pre-planned by our strategists in order to help train the soul. So when we look at it...
Lizette, I got to cut in for just a second here. It's the funniest thing you said that it's all pre-planned, because years ago when I was listening to Art Bell, and I used to listen to Danyon, and I used to listen to Richard C. Hoagland. I mean, I've listened over 15 years to all these people, right? It turns out I always felt like I was going to know them. And I know that sounds really odd, but it's an absolute truth, Lizette. I used to think, oh, yeah, well, they seem very familiar to me, like there's something going on here, right? Little did I know that in 2010, after I almost died, that I would turn my life around completely to be dealing with all these people. And it's so funny. It's like the first time I met Jordan Maxwell, it was like we'd known each other forever. The first time I met Robert Perala, I mean, all these people, they just walk up to me. It's like we'd all known each other for 300 lifetimes. It was very, very bizarre. And I even have some detractors out there that say, Lorien, you just burst on the scene and you know everybody. That can't be real. You must be working for the CIA.
Yes, the person who said that doesn't understand soul groups, right?
Exactly.
When you incarnate with your main cluster group over, since the beginning of one's creation, well, those are very strong ties, and we do that in key roles. And I hate to tread on some toes here, but my goodness, some of our greatest enemies are people that we've actually made prior arrangements with and agreements to come and test our mettle.
Absolutely. You have no idea, Lizette, how I've lived that one out, and I'm just going to throw this out to the audience and they will all understand. If I say the words Michael Prince, James Casbolt to anybody out there in the mind control world, they will know that he has been turned into my greatest enemy. And it's been a very wild ride. And he's, it's turned into a very sad situation. But you're right. I mean, I obviously made some choices before I came here that I was going to be really, really tested this lifetime. So, and I've almost died so many times. And it sounds like, now, why are we talking about me, Lizette? How did this happen? I want to talk about you. I want to hear about your experiences back in 87, fall of 87. I want to hear about that. So anyhow, let's start talking about you. And yes, and it sounds like you've made arrangements to have to deal with some of the extraterrestrials that are building your metal.
Yes, but Lori, you describe what's happening to all of us, where our courage is being challenged. Because in the interlife, I was shown that, there's this great period of study, and we reevaluate, and we are shown our lives, we relive them, we study them in great detail before we come back. But we have to be tested on what we've learned. And when we agree to have complete amnesia, and we forget our enemies and our friends, and, when we forget this grand plan that we're all part of, the reason for that is because if we're given if we remember everything, it's kind of like we're given the answers to the test. You see what I mean? So in 1987, when I first started having these experiences, literally, I was just a quote-unquote normal person in a bad marriage, struggling with another difficult person, like all of us do at various times in our life. And I was basically a burst of light shot through the ceiling, enveloped my body, and I started to scream. I couldn't move. It was so loud. There was so much phenomena. It was all the typical stuff that you hear about. It was like a bad, movie in my bedroom. My then husband was out of town, and this went on for years and years. So initially, when it happened, my eyes would close involuntarily, and I felt myself starting to fall asleep, although my heart was terrified. It was thumping. I was frightened. I didn't know what was happening. And then I would wake up in the morning, and I wondered if I had imagined it all, because the room would return to kind of normal. So I didn't have any visual. I didn't see any ETs. I didn't know what was happening.
Oh, Lizette, I've got to say something right here. I very seldom talk about my experiences, but you are describing almost in detail everything that was happening to me, too, because I didn't have lights come through the ceiling that I can remember, but I've had encounters where they've told me, literally said, you've got to keep your eyes closed. You can't, or you can't remember this. We're not going to let you remember this, or, things like that. So I know how frustrating that is. I mean, I have days, Lizette, where I go, why couldn't they just walk into my room, so I could at least see them and know what was happening, like Whitley had happen, right? So I think your experience and mine are in some way just 10 times more frustrating.
Well, it's interesting because it's consistent with spiritual life. Those experiences are consistent with the way that all of our guides operate, meaning each of us are assigned a spiritual guide. And that spiritual guide can look any number of ways, and depending on the nature of our own evolution, depending on the location of many of our incarnations. Those of us who are having ET contact, people who have a vital interest in otherworldly experiences, often themselves are souls who have had many incarnations on other worlds other than planet Earth. Most of us have many incarnations on planet Earth, and most of the population has all of their incarnations on planet Earth, but not everybody. So probably the people that you see at UFO conferences, it's a probability that most of those people who have a desperate interest in it have had other incarnations on other worlds. And so when we have either snippets of memories in dreams or flashbacks or face-to-face experiences in real time, we're coming up and meeting and kind of having a reunion experience, if you will, with members of our soul group from those incarnations.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. Wow, this is really cool stuff. So this was happening to you back in '87, and you started going through all this. When did you actually see the aliens? How many years did it take, or have you ever seen them full blown, like standing by the side of the bed? Okay, great. Yes. Tell us about that.
So in this period in which there was phenomena, I didn't yet see aliens, so-called aliens, but what I was seeing was I started having, overnight I changed. And what I mean by that is I started being able to hear people's thoughts. I started having these videos playing in the middle of the night in my bedroom, which showed scenes from other lives. I didn't even believe in reincarnation at that point. It's like, why am I showing me in these other lives? Of course, I looked differently, but I knew that it was me. But I was being shown these other examples of other lives that I was in, and they were snippets of crucibles in those lives which mirrored the crucible of my present moment. Because most of us usually have a repetitive karmic challenge that we're working on lifetime after lifetime and after lifetime. And at that moment when my ET contact started, I did not understand, I did not know that I was highly vulnerable to either suicide or being murdered or really having my life go in a way that might not serve me. So what I was being
I'm confused. Why would you? I understand the suicide part completely because I was there myself at one point when I had an experience of what I call the true love place, and they sent me back and said, "You got to get back to work now." I was like, "No, I don't want to be here. I hate being here, and I don't like being in this body. I'm coming back to you guys." But so basically, I understand the suicide thing all too well, but I don't understand the being murdered part. Can you explain why you might have felt that?
Yes, and it's quite simple. Is when the ET contact started that I later found out was ET contact, which we haven't yet gotten to, and I'll get to that in a minute.
Right.
I was terrified. So I would find myself waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning. This is during times when, let's say, this was the point when my husband was home. I was so upset. I would come back after the contact. I would be returned back to my house, and I would just in my upset, I'd drive to the beach and go for a walk on the beach. At 3 o'clock in the morning. There were times where I had people walk by me where I know some higher being intervened because I placed myself in harm's way over and over again in my confusion.
Right.
I was starting to be shown these videos, if you will, for lack of a better word, these videos of other lifetimes of mine in which I had succumbed to full powerlessness, that I had allowed myself to become a total and complete victim. And those lives I was shown, and I didn't quite comprehend as I was shown it at the moment, but I slowly started to learn that at that point in my life, I too I was at a fork in the road. I could either empower myself with curiosity and explore with courage what was happening to me, or I could continue to be victimized. And let's face it, I found myself in a psychiatric hospital. My then husband told them I was crazy. I lost custody of my son. I mean, I lost everything. My bank account was closed. I had nothing. So the point is that I had to pick myself up by my bootstraps, and part of my ET contact in the early days was showing me this universality, this cosmic dance that we all do lifetime after lifetime, in which we are learning certain things to strengthen the soul. And one of the things that I was wanting to learn in this lifetime was to overcome once and for all this sense of victimization and powerlessness. So the ET contact itself, ironically and paradoxically, set me up to be a so-called victim in order that I could rise up out of that recurring state. Now,
wow.
Is that perfection or what?
That is amazing. And you know what, Lizette? The interesting part to me is that every one of us that are in this state, or an experiencer or a contactee or whatever, we've all had that happen in some, degree or another. I don't know anybody. I've just started thinking about it when you started talking about it. I know so many people that have lost everything, that they were called crazy, they were committed, the list goes on and on. It's like almost every one of them. Have you ever met anybody who's in this field that hasn't, just suddenly popped into the field and there was no harm or controversy done to them? I mean, I haven't met very many.
Yes, and it's interesting because there are other fields also in which you look at any person who has come into a lifetime which is outside the normal cultural context. So whether you choose a life to be homosexual, well, there you are outside of the cultural context. When it involves shame, ridicule, etc., those lifetimes necessarily create an opportunity for huge spiritual growth. And so here I was floundering, looking to see how am I this victim, where, and watching myself go into the depths of depression. And then for over a couple years, as I'm looking at all this, still not knowing, by the way, what is happening to my nighttime, right, with these missing time episodes, feeling that I was traveling somewhere because my eyes were closed, but I could feel this movement. So finally, when I attained sufficient emotional growth, and I did that by submitting myself, interestingly and ironically, to 6 years of psychotherapy.
Yeah.
And part of it because I wanted to know if I was crazy. And my psychotherapist ended up being a contributor to my book, Talking to Extraterrestrials, and there's a afterword there, which is a great excerpt to give to a loved one if you yourself are a contactee and you would like your loved one to be able to read something written by a clinician who talks about what that is and what it does in this society when you're having experiences that are extraordinary. But ultimately, I started to heal emotionally. And isn't it interesting, because when I had finally really started to heal through my own volition.
Absolutely. Yep.
I started to become curious, and that was when my eyes remained open. Literally, I know. Isn't it beautiful? Because it's almost, literally the contact would now start, the lights would descend on me, and instead of my eyes closing, my eyes stayed open. Now, is that a figurative? I mean, it's so figuratively beautiful, because then I beheld who was in front of me, and I saw these beautiful little 4-foot-tall gray alien beings, the classic inverted pear-shaped head with the large almond-shaped black eyes, and the communication began. And it was telepathic in nature, and I haven't stopped since. But that was not possible until I brought myself to a place of calm.
Okay, now let me ask you something. On Above and Beyond, the book that's on your homepage of your website, The Incredible True Story of Extraterrestrial Contact, do they look just like the grays that you're seeing on the cover of the book?
Yes, but this is a qualified yes. And listen to why. Because when a being reaches an evolved state, those beings know how and become experts at using matter. They can shapeshift. They know how to form molecules. So even in the way that we as human beings, in some way, we do shapeshift ourselves through different incarnations. This lifetime I'm a woman, the next time I'm a man, here I'm an author, the next one I might be a teacher. You see, so we too are shapeshifting. But ETs in this group in particular has the ability to look any darn way they want to look.
Thank you for that, because, that's what I try to tell people all the time. I said, I could be talking to an alien ET right now, sitting here in a restaurant, and none of you would know it, because they can make you think I'm just talking to some guy or some girl or some child. You know, that's what you would see as the observer. It isn't necessarily, a gray ET. So.
Right. So it becomes, the question is, what do they look like and where are they from, become a much deeper question. It's like asking me, if you ask me, where was I born? Well, which lifetime? Where are you from, Lisette? Well, which age are you referring to, right? I mean, now I'm living in Malibu, California, but so you see how deep it gets. When people say, well, are these the Pleiadians? Hey, which part of the, since the beginning of creation are you referring to?
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is the good news. It's really.
It is. It absolutely is. I want to thank you for saying that, because that's a huge part of my message to people, and part of what this radio show is all about is that there is so much to it. And my vision, Lizette, was of a spider web, but it was 3 spider webs together in a 3D chessboard situation, and all the interconnecting strands were going from one type of thought process or contact or conspiracy or this or that, all interconnecting in this giant, chessboard cube type of circular cube type of situation, where it is so complex yet so simple all at the same time. And that sounds exactly like what you're saying also, and that you discussed, I'm assuming, in your books. Yes, that's true. And if somebody would like a copy of my book, just write me on my website, and I'll send a book to the first 10 emails that I get on my website. Oh, that's wonderful. So they can contact you through the website at let's see, it says contact Lizette right at the top. Email Lizette, you guys. So yeah, you guys take her up on that, because I got a feeling this book, it would change many people's lives. I really highly recommend it. I haven't read it yet, but I can tell you just by reading the back of it, it's got some powerful insight into it, folks. So I really want you to do that. Now, Lizette, we're going to hit a break here in about 30 seconds. I just wanted to say that when we get back from the break, we are going to talk about, we're going to go even into more detail about what happened after your therapy. And we'll get, we'll just start going through the list of things that have happened to you, because I'm very curious to find out. And I'm really curious about these other 3 books, definitely. So we'll do that. Okay, folks, so we'll be back in just a few minutes. Stay with us. Lisette Larkins is my guest tonight.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin. Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free. You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
Hello, I'm Pat Usford, inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages every Monday evening at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Inception Radio Network, To find out more about EPIC and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com.
EPIC is Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council, the forum for scholars, experts, and those fascinated by and involved in the study of ancient civilizations, conspiracies, cryptozoology, ETs, and UFOs, fringe science, the paranormal, and all manner of extraordinary phenomena. Please join EPIC as we examine the mysteries of the world and beyond on epicvoyagers.com. And for updates on the upcoming interactive video presentations, the latest news and discussion on the EPIC forum, as well as research, investigations, and membership opportunities. Epic Voyage's program schedule is on the Inception Radio Network. Thank you for joining us.
Howdy, this is Joe Mars. I'm inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about EPIC and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com. That's epicvoyagers.com.
Hello, everyone. Lorien Fenton here, host of the California MUFON Radio Show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today. Welcome back, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show. I'm your host, Lorien Fenton. We're here with Lisette Larkins tonight, and she's been just, I got to tell you, folks, she was the perfect guest for tonight for the show, for me, I hope for you guys, because I needed somebody to just kind of ground me out and say, look, it's all a lesson. And that's really what it is. It comes down to that, because like I said, I had a mixed bag for last weekend at the conference. I had a wonderful time, but there were a few moments where I could just have screamed, and she's really helped me with that. And I want to thank her for that. And I'm fascinated by her story. So I really want to get back to her. Lisette, are you still with me?
Yes.
Great. Wonderful. So now, you were talking before the break about Above and Beyond and about your contact. And what I want to do is I want to go more into what happened after the whole therapy thing. Because, hello?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Okay, good. Thought I'd lost you. I'm having some weird computer issues tonight. So I'm just, if I lose you, we'll get you right back.
I love computer issues.
I don't have them often, but tonight just seems to be an odd night. So there we are. So anyhow, you were seeing a therapist for a while. And, I must say I saw a therapist for a very long time between my 20s and 30s because I didn't want to end up like my mom and dad. That's what I told myself, right? It's like, I just don't want to end up like them, so I'm going to go to therapy for years and try to bang them out of my brain cells, It didn't work. I ended up being just like both of them, but hey, at least I got a lot of insight in those 10 years that I was in therapy, and I actually loved it. I was going to become a therapist by the end of it, but then I realized I'm pretty impatient, and I probably wouldn't be a good therapist, so I went off and did other things. But anyhow, so tell us what happened after the whole therapy thing, and you realized that you were beyond therapy at that point. You were now graduated into the whole world of psychic and extraterrestrial phenomena.
Yes, because I had the confidence that my perceptions could be trusted. That's key, isn't it? Is because people who are empaths those of us who are aware of the multifaceted nature of the universe, especially when we either are living in a family which doesn't understand it, or even working in professions in which it's not considered real, there's this kind of invalidation that occurs, and we lose confidence in our own abilities to perceive. So the therapeutic process for me, I was very fortunate because I had a therapist who had done, I think, a master's program in theology, which he had studied all of the mystics throughout the ages who had these extraordinary mystical experiences. And of course he said, that's all right, you're just one of those people. It's like, oh, great, cool, you know. So it kind of gave me permission to continue the adventure, and that's exactly what I did. So with my newfound clarity, I kind of, I went to sleep with a whole different outlook, and I continued the experiences anew, but this time the conversation began, and I started recording my conversations with them. They were telepathic communications. They continue to this day. I had a lot of questions. Many of those questions make up the book, Talking to Extraterrestrials. And also, for me personally, what was so important was that I was interested in plumbing the depths of what is the point of it all, right? So
exactly, yep, wonderful.
Especially because I had in this life so much personal pain, it just didn't make any sense to me. So I really wanted to look under the rock and look to see what is the purpose of it all. And so as the contact continued, I was having on-board face-to-face encounter experiences, in the flesh experiences, and I was having experiences where everything from, being in my room when they were in my room to being in a grocery store and having all of a sudden a communication come through. I would see flashes of light that I had to learn to decode. So all different kinds of phenomena, clairvoyant phenomena, went along with the extraterrestrials. And it's not necessarily so unusual. Even, I too have heard Dannion speak before, Dannion Brinkley, and it's the same kind of thing. When we have a universal experience, suddenly we become more attuned with the nature of our universal beingness. And so we do see beyond the veil. We are all of a sudden clairvoyant and clairaudient and clairsentient, and we have, all of a sudden for me, I started to have these abilities in which I perceived the heartbeat of the universe and how we are connected, and how our enemies, our quote unquote enemies, have come back with us to work it out with us, and how if we don't work it out, we're going to do it again. So let's just work it out. Little things like that, which to me are very, very important, because now that I understand through my inspirational experience with the ETs, because they are evolved, because they're enlightened, you know what? Gosh, I just want what they have, right? So through all of this pain in this life and others, and beholding these beautiful, peaceful beings, I wanted to know how to get what they have.
Amazing. Now, did you ever get a hit that these beings may or may not be peaceful? I mean, apparently the ones you were hanging out with or are hanging out with are very peaceful and loving, correct?
Yes, but let's go back to our original discussion tonight. If planet Earth is representative of the majority of beings being in the early stages of their incarnation, meaning they're relatively new in their spiritual journey, well, planet Earth is probably representative of the entire universe, which means that if we have on this planet, Saddam Hussein and Mother Teresa, then perhaps in the universe at large we also have new souls and wise souls, and we're all mixed up together, which is why you have people reporting, hey, wait a minute, you got the nice ones, I got the evil ones.
Right.
It is a mixed bag, although, let me qualify that, because
in the UFO literature, there are many, many people who presume victimization when there really isn't any. So because of they feel traumatized, they assume there's been victimization when, and also there have been many well-meaning but misinformed UFO investigators who are more than happy to tell contactees what the meaning of their experience is. But experiencers have to decide for themselves what the meaning of their experiences are, because, and to be able to look beyond the so-called trauma, because the experiences are happening in a context that it's not supposed to be happening. So of course you're going to have trauma, right?
Exactly. And everybody's experience is different. I mean, I have the great story. I don't know, I'm sure you've heard this, Lizette, but there's the thing where two women are abducted, and these are past women I interviewed somewhere along the line, and they, one goes to the ship and she sees Fabio, because she used to read those, heartthrob paperbacks, those romantic novels. And Fabio back in the day was like the long golden-haired, good-looking guy. And she'd see him and it would be like, and she'd do anything the aliens would tell her to do because they came to her as him, right? And then this other woman would always see the devil. And, it's like, and she was petrified the whole time. So to each person, even being on the same craft with the same species of alien, they can even give you completely different takes on what they're made out of, who they are, what they're there for, and why they're there. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal to me.
Yes, and I like to speak to that too, because even in the near-death experience literature, where you have people who have the same initial reports of the tunnel effect, their body dies, they pass through this this phase, and they go into this interlife experience. And here's the interesting thing about that: people who are very religious either they report seeing biblical figures or the devil. And it's interesting because from what I know, from what I have seen, this is just my own opinion, but from my own experiences, if we are preconditioned to believe in biblical figures, when we behold wise elders, we interpret them as biblical figures. And conversely, if we're terrified that there's a hell and we have a near-death experience, we may have a hellish experience even though there's really no hell. Yes, of course, those who have done evil acts will be dealt with, but it's not, from what I have witnessed, it's not the way that the religions have purported, which is there's, if you do this, you go to heaven. If you do this, you go to hell. And so even in the context of beings with different levels of spiritual attainment all thrown in together, both in this world and another, what's also so is that we do have preconditioned ideas of who we're going to see. So sometimes we put that on the experience. And we all know, that even within our human relationships, right? Where somebody's reputation precedes them, and we come in with all kinds of assumptions. So there's a lot of things at work, but what is the most important is to recognize that this is not this big mystery. This is a group of beings in this world and others, and we're all at different levels of spiritual attainment, and we're all mixed up together, and we're all going to be okay. We're all just working it out together, and we're all inherently safe. Yes, even in the context of the conspiracies and the people, the few people who control the planet and all of that drama, we're still going to be okay. Why? Because we have a spiritual derivation. We are spiritual beings, and we are evolving our souls, and we're growing through our experiences. And we're going, we can take a deep breath and know that even within the drama, even within the bad marriages and the problematic children and the parents who abused us, even within those contexts, and, I've had a lot of these experiences myself, but still, we're all working it out karmically, meaning, and it's not things that have been assigned to us, meaning there's nobody who says, you were a bad girl, so next life you're going to be. No, it doesn't work that way. The way that it works is we want to experience all the faces of powerlessness so that we can then become more powerful. We want to experience all the faces of victimhood so that then we can become brave. How can we learn about forgiveness and compassion unless we have been wronged? And so,
absolutely, yep.
That context of wrongdoing can happen in worldly experiences or otherworldly experiences. But even so, it does not mean that we're doomed. It means that we're all mixed up in this amazing experience. There's lots of different places to incarnate. Contactees, experiencers often have had other locations of incarnations. Okay, no big deal. It's really not that big of a deal. There's nothing to be afraid of. And sometimes we meet those other beings that we incarnated with. Some of them are friendly, some of them are not so friendly. But even in the context of this world, we have ex-spouses that we consider not so friendly. But the goal is to be able to work it all out and to be able to come to some understanding and level of compassion and forgiveness. So that why? So that we don't have to come back the next time and do it again and repeat those experiences.
Yes,
now,
that is that's the goal, isn't it, Lizette? I always say every time I think about my death, I think, oh, please, I've tried to forgive myself. I've tried to forgive others. I've tried to stand up for those who needed it. And, and I have to forgive myself for not having stood up for my beliefs this last weekend. That was the first thing I had to do when I got home. Yeah, it's very interesting. Forgiving yourself, I think, is number one.
Definitely, because we are our harshest own critic. And then, to answer your question as to, we talked a little bit about what on earth do, aliens have to do with, well, the interlife or other lives. And let's talk about what the aliens have to do with difficult people, because that's one of my books, is Difficult People, A Gateway to Enlightenment. And what that has to do with is that after, tens of thousands of extraterrestrial contact experiences, it begged the question, if I am learning about the nature and the impulse of the universe, and then I'm learning about what the goal of the soul is, which is to evolve, and I'm beholding enlightened beings, and I already described that I want what they have, who wouldn't want a sense of peace? Who wouldn't want an ongoing chronic feeling of joy, right? Who doesn't want it? And so then the task is put to me, okay, which is, by the way, the task that is put to each one of us, which is then go practice what you've learned. So as I was looking for a so-called, and I put this in quotes, a guru in the human flesh to help me to really kind of integrate all that I had learned from my otherworldly mentors, rather than move to India and move into an ashram and get a guru and meditate on a mountaintop, it was posed to me, why don't you go become a caretaker for a woman with Alzheimer's? That'll help you learn how to become a better being.
Wow. Yeah.
Jeez. So I did. And I cared for Jeanette for 3 years. And I was cleaning diarrhea off the wall, in the worst of her stage, because, through her long journey as a sick woman, losing her mental and physical capacities, it was a very difficult job. But it was, for me, I was putting into practice everything that I had been taught from the ET beings. All of the things that I was trying to learn, how to deal with a difficult person, because that's what we are all doing. We're all learning how to deal with difficult people. You
see?
Yeah.
So I made it practical. I was challenged. You want enlightenment? Yeah, I want enlightenment. Okay. Well, then work with somebody who's difficult. And and so of course I wrote a book about that experience and the tools that I used, integrated from all the things that I had learned from the ETs.
And you know, Lizette, it's very interesting that you said, you know, this is, people say get a guru and all that. You know, I swear that doing something for others is truly the way to enlightenment. I've been telling that to people for years. You know, they say, you know, my kids are messed up and this is what's going on and what have you. And I said, well, get your kids out there helping other people. You know, don't let them sit around the house all day playing video games and doing nothing and being ridiculous and doing, you know, playing with their friends. I said, you know, make them go out, you know, once a week and go down to the, you know, kitchens that feed the homeless and or scrub toilets at a, you know, I don't care, a care facility for older folks or, you know, whatever. I don't know what it is, but just get them out there not thinking about themselves, having them engage with somebody else that needs help is always the best way to grow personally. I've always believed that.
Yes, right. And so in each of our lives, we have recurring experiences that alarm us and that harm us and that upset us, and those are the work.
Yes, absolutely.
That is made manifest. And so that is what the ET contact provided me, which was a context to challenge myself. It was a context for growth. It was a context to understand what was really going on beyond the veil. Because at the end of the day, who cares how many fingers the aliens have and what their craft looks like? At the end of the day, it all changes because there are so many different kinds of beings as there are so many different kinds of human beings on this planet. The universe reflects that diversity. So we, of course, can talk about that and classify that and chronicle it, and there's these ones, and there's cigar-shaped crafts, and there's round craft. Okay, great. At the end of the day, how am I better? How am I changed? What will I do now to cause myself to put myself on a trajectory of growth?
Absolutely. Yep. That's what it's all about, isn't it? It's truly about us all growing, and I also believe in the same breath, it's about us becoming so centered within ourselves and forgiving ourselves and becoming and getting ready for the next level, the next death, as you might say, but also doing it so that the people around us are not harmed in any way while we get there. I think that's number one. You know, you just got to make sure you're being good to everybody at all times. I mean, it's it's a lot harder to do than it is to talk about. As all the gurus say, you know, Lizette, they all say, do unto others as you want done unto you in some, form or fashion. And boy, that's a tough one. I don't know, you know. How do you feel about that one?
You know, we all need a group of support, a support group. And it's really interesting because in all of the studies of addictions, they have determined that the greatest success occurs when the addict plugs in to a community of support, whether through an AA program or whatever. And it's really interesting about that because the way that it works in the interlife, meaning when their body is finished and the soul leaves the planet and goes to the interlife experience to do a life review and to study for an in-depth period of time before coming back into a new body, we return to these groups, these clusters, these that we've been with since the beginning of our own creation. And those groups, we are accountable to each other in a small group. We help each other. And so if a person here and now is floundering,
go find a small group, any small group. It can be a 12-step program. You don't have to be an addict, or you can be an addict, but the point is to find a group of people to connect with, to share one's own experiences, because that is the nature of growth, even in the interlife. So for example, the group of ETs that I meet with, they're also this small group, and I am part of their group. And I have been part of their group during other incarnations in other planetary environments, right? And so they come space and time through an interdimensional portal to meet me here. But this is not where they are living full time. They're not living on planet Earth. I am, like many other contactees. We're meeting up with, we're having reunions with groups that we have incarnated with, beloved soul groups that we have incarnated with in other existences. And I might add, in the same way that we come back, we recycle old enemies from lifetime to lifetime, allowing us the opportunity to work it out. That also goes, it holds true across universal experiences. So if we've had so-called enemies in other incarnations, in other worldly experiences, and then we have contact experiences now, we're still trying to work that out, right? So we can start to see the point of it all. We can start to see what is up. It's trying to come up in our consciousness so that we can heal it. We can heal the hurt. We can heal the hate, and that we can move beyond it.
Oh, wow. That is so well said. Oh my God. And absolutely, we bring our enemies and our lovers and our friends and everything with us. And you're right. There is an oversoul group with each one of us. I was actually shown one at one point in my life. I think it was in my late teens. And it was absolutely phenomenal, Lisette. I was floating around in space, and I had all these other energies with me, and we had no bodies. We were just energy. It was absolutely beautiful, peaceful, blissful, and lovely. And with that, we've hit our last break. I can't believe it. My, the time it's flying so fast, I can't believe it, Lisette. Okay, folks, stick with us. We'll be back for the last half hour of the show right after this break.
Locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin. Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Just a reminder that Inception Radio Network is on Twitter. Follow us at I_R_N and keep up to date about who's on tonight, what interviews they'll be doing, who's guest spotting, what topics they'll be covering. Tweet to us, tweet about us, retweet topics to your friends, and most importantly, never miss a great show again. That's I_R_N.
Do you have a smartphone? If so, Inception Radio Network is the best app for you. Available on iTunes, Android, Samsung, and most other app stores. Just search Inception Radio Network. With the app you can listen live, check out podcasts of recent and past shows, view our videos, see what shows are coming up, who the guests are, and, via the chat room, send live questions to those guests. You know it makes sense. Check your app store now. Inception Radio Network. I'll see you there.
Are you looking for a cure for boredom? Never worry. IRN's new interactive website introduces a number of ways to pass time while you listen to your favorite show. Choose anything from the IRN chat lounge, the game lounge, video lounge, or the mood lounge. These fun, exciting features let you chat in real time with fellow listeners, view live skywatches, play daily posted online games, or pick a show based on topic. The choices are endless. Use your time wisely, keeping it all on IRN.
Hello, everyone. Lorien Fenton here, host of the California MUFON Radio Show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
Hello, I'm Pat Usford, inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages every Monday evening at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com.
EPIC is Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council, the forum for scholars, experts, and those fascinated by and involved in the study of ancient civilizations, conspiracies, cryptozoology, ETs, and UFOs, fringe science, the paranormal, and all manner of extraordinary phenomena. Please join EPIC as we examine the mysteries of the world and beyond on epicvoyagers.com. And for updates on the upcoming interactive video presentations, the latest news and discussion on the EPIC forum, as well as research, investigations, and membership opportunities. Epic Voyages program schedule is on the Inception Radio Network. Thank you for joining us.
Howdy, this is Joe Mars. I'm inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com. That's epicvoyagers.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show here on Inception Radio Network. I'm so happy you're all with me here tonight, and Lisette Larkins, and we're having a great show, and she's just helping me out a lot. You know, it is karma, folks. I got to tell you, my guests that show up on this show usually show up on the right night. It's always that way. I needed her to ground me out about that whole LA Conscious Life Expo thing. I just really needed it. And it's wonderful that she's been here. She gave me some great insight the first half hour, and I'm feeling much better now. So this is just wonderful. So Neutron has a question for Lisette that her and I were discussing on the break, and it's a good question. It's a really good question. So here we go, folks. In a dual world on third density, which is where we are right now, where we have good and bad, I strongly suspect the same exists with the abducting entities. My question to Lisette is, do you suspect the same entity will do both positive and negative abduction experiences, or would it come from a different entity altogether? So what do you think there, Lisette?
Well, each being, as we talked about, each being is at a certain level of spiritual attainment. So, look, we'll know the tree by its fruit. I mean, who amongst us have been married who've had a really hard time of it, right? We know where somebody is in their spiritual growth based on how they act, based on who they are, based on what they represent with respect to their own behaviors. So we don't have evolved beings acting like knuckleheads. See what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So we're
Absolutely.
all, but because we are all still evolving, we're not perfect, because when we get to a certain level of attainment, we're no longer incarnating, right? We're no longer, because now we're getting to the state of a master guide. So here we all are on planet Earth doing the best we can at different levels of spiritual attainment. Some of us are married to people who are at a more, say, introductory level of attainment than we are. So all we can know is that if a third grader is in a relationship with a first grader, somebody's better at long division than the other, right? And how we that difference plays itself out with all kinds of things, right? Holding an authoritarian power over others, hurting others, lying, cheating, and stealing, all those characteristics that we call bad. All that is just the way that a young soul looks, for the most part. Not always, not all young, naive souls are knuckleheads, but it's a characteristic of a young soul. And we've already talked about how the majority of the population are young souls, right?
Yeah.
So otherworldly beings who act in a way that does not seem to be an evolved state, well, it tells you where their evolution is. But you're not going to have, Gandhi incarnating on planet Earth and then raping somebody. An evolved being would kind of be beyond raping. See what I mean? So there's no, but at the beginning levels of the spiritual growth, yes, you get a mixed bag. So it all depends. You get people in marriages when you're 20 years old and you're fighting and screaming and throwing things across the room, but you're also lovey-dovey. So in the beginning stages of development, yes, there's a mixed bag, but that is characteristic of a beginning stage of development. So you always know the tree by its fruit, and that is such a wise biblical phrase, but it's true, right? You'll know what you have based on how a person acts. That's why it's futile to feel the victim. It's futile to be enraged. It's because it's just not helpful. It's just not helpful to you or to them. It's more helpful to just recognize, of course they act that way because now I understand where they are in their own evolution.
Absolutely. There you go. See, folks, Lisette has it all worked out for us. Thank God.
I don't know about that.
When you were talking, now, do you get these insights from your experiences with your, talking to your ETs, or do they just come to you and say, hey, Lisette, it's time for your lesson, and they just download it to you and say, this is what you're getting? Or do you have to, or do you have to do something that it triggers that kind of insight being given to you?
It's all of that. It's both and all of it. But interestingly enough, it's no different than what each and every one of us is experiencing, meaning all of our spiritual insights are coming from practical application. And my ET mentoring is no different. So that's why, I'm in these difficult life experiences in the real life, and I've got aliens over my shoulder going, well, did you think about this? So it always happens in the context of what's real and painful and visceral, and I feel like I'm going to die. You see what I mean? And that's no different from each and every one of us. For anybody listening who's never seen an alien, you still are benefited by an evolved master who is your guide, who's guiding you and whispering in your ear, whispering inspirations through your sleep and your dreams. And so each of us has that mentoring, each of us, and it always comes in the context of difficulties.
Ah, yeah, definitely. And, it's interesting. You have to kind of give into it, don't you, though? You have to kind of just you have to get to that point where you cried for so long that there's nothing left to cry about. And you have to have forgiven yourself, and you have to kind of be like what I always call the wrung out dish rag. I'm at the end of everything. I can't take another thing. And then the insight will come to me. I don't know about you and your experiences, but for me, that's how I learn. I guess I'm stubborn.
No,
it takes that much to get through to me eventually, I guess.
Okay, let's get real here. Planet Earth, I'm told, is one of the most difficult learning environment in the universe.
Really?
I mean, put your head around that. Here we are. Imagine we're these spiritual beings in the interlife, between lives. We are in a environment in which the cohesiveness, the spiritual cohesiveness, is not to be recognized in this context on planet Earth. And then we're born into a body. Imagine these new souls. Imagine as a new soul, you're born, here you come to planet Earth, and we have fierce competitiveness. There's no fairness. And so it's jarring, it's difficult. You see what I mean? So it is an extremely difficult training program. It's not that much different than the new Marine who goes to boot camp in this training. It's a nightmare. You've got the sergeant major screaming in your ear and telling you to do these, obstacle courses. It's not that different. But there's also, of course, profound beauty. There's humor. There's love. There's, the beautiful sunset. And we have that contrast thrown in with the acute difficulties. But that is part of the reason why when you see younger souls having great difficulties, younger souls are challenged by this difficult environment. The fierceness of the competitiveness, the lack of, the deception and the subterfuge, it's not like that in the interlife. And it's jarring. That's why each of us is born into this world with a sense of loneliness, with a sense of aching for the spiritual community that we have when we are in our spiritual home. And, we're wondering where that longing comes from. And so here we are doing the best we can, and that's why it's so important to have groups of friends who get together and support each other to remember what we came here to do. The main thing is to overcome fear in a physical body and to have courage and willingness to do what we came here to do. And people say, well, how do I know what I came here to do? It's simple. You want to know what your purpose is? You want to know what you came here to do? Look at the recurring themes in your life. Oh, you mean the difficulties? Yeah, the difficulties. Look at the recurring patterns of difficulties in your life. That's what you came here to do. Sometimes it's not to be, a best-selling this or a famous that. Sometimes it's just being able to once and for all overcome the repetitive karmic difficulty that is yours to overcome, and it's different for each of us. So what's hard for you is easy for me. What's easy for me, so we all have something. Somebody may be working on envy. Another person may be working on courage. Another person may be working on self-discipline. All in the context of this crazy society in which every way you turn, there's somebody trying to hold an authoritarian power over you. By the way, that's the test of people with wealth or with power. That's their test.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yes, because we all have a chance to be at the top of the heap. We all get to be famous. We all get to be poor. We all get to be beautiful, young, kings, presidents. We all get a chance. But those lifetimes where we have it, where it looks easy, like we look at people and go, how did this person get so lucky? They got extreme wealth. They're born into wealth. They've got everything they need. Well, what is their test? That, talk about a seductive test, to be able to have wealth and power and not use it to hold an authoritarian power over others. That's got to be one of the hardest of all time.
Absolutely. Lizette, I must have learned that lesson because I look at people who have that kind of wealth and I don't envy them at all. At all. I don't want to be them. I don't want to have anything to do with it. All I've ever asked for in this lifetime right here and now is to be comfortable and not have to worry. You know what my biggest goal is? someday to be able to go to the grocery store and not have to count the price of everything I put in my cart so I know how much money I spent. That's my goal, is to just be able to walk into the grocery store and be able to buy things and not worry about what it costs. I've never had that happen in my life. To me, that would be being rich.
I hear you. I understand.
Yeah. So that, to me, that's the ultimate thing for me. But, I look at these people, and I'm around quite a few of them, and I grew up around quite a few very wealthy people. And most of them, in my eyes, they're very sad people. And they're very confused, and they're lost, and they don't know who they are, and a lot of substance abuse in the very wealthy. My God. They're bored, and they're bored because they never had to work for anything in their life. I don't know.
So we talk about, because extraterrestrials seem to traverse multidimensional experiences, we forget that we too can do that. That we do it as we change and drop a body through death and move into the interlife. So we really have quite a bit in common with our extraterrestrial mentors. The spirit world is a resting place. It's where we learn, we teach, we reevaluate, but then we have to test what we've learned. We have to test ourselves through living different lives to see if it's really truly become part of our essence.
Yes,
and so,
absolutely.
Right? So when we're talking about our childhood, difficult childhoods, that's what prepares us for our main purpose, is our childhood. And we prepare ourselves like that over many lifetimes. And that's what our difficulties are doing. They're preparing us over and over by having us overcome obstacles, by seeking the best solutions over many lifetimes in order to achieve productive lives. So if the soul is strengthened by this process, then we can understand why we sometimes meet so many knuckleheads. Those knuckleheads are helping to shape us and to strengthen us. They're often by preordained agreement.
Yeah.
We are repeating the same karmic lesson over many lifetimes. And in the context of aliens, you know what? The most significant event in a lifetime is usually not an external event. It's
yes, absolutely.
Happening.
It's internal. That's right.
It's happening. And what is that? It's the choice to be happy regardless of circumstance.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, because that is the bottom line. You have to choose it. You have to make it happen. You could be sitting in a pile of poo-poo, and you could be very happy if you choose to be that way. I tell that to all my friends all the time. Hey, Lizette, I've got 2 more questions for you, and I really would love to get those in. Do you think we got time? We can do it in 9 minutes. What do you think?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. The second question of the night is from Neutron again. His second question is, has Lizette ever had an out-of-body experience during an abduction event where she saw her own body on a table, i.e. while you're being worked on by the aliens? I'm taking it.
Yes, I have had so-called examination experiences, and I have understood them to be part of a process of my own physical healing, contrary to what some people have experienced. And I liken it to, and the reason why there can be fear is, the same way when we take our own beloved pets to like an animal hospital. When there is a lack of understanding, there can often be confusion. And so I myself have also been part of a process by which otherworldly beings are examining my physical body, and I'm participating with that examination. In some cases, I wouldn't call it. In some cases, it has been where I in my physical body, and I'm actually in a kind of a laboratory environment. I was told in one particular instance that I would return home with a severe headache, and I did. I was returned to my bed at, like 4 in the morning, and I was vomiting and very, very sick. And yet, because I'm a universal being, and because I'm participating with all kinds of different studies, it's not so unusual when we meet up with our soul group, and we participate in different, projects. In my case, though, there was no harm done, any more than when I have taken my own dog to the vet when she has had challenges adapting to this environment. She has, for example, terrible allergies, and she's terrified of the vet's office. When she sees that guy coming with the white lab coat, I carry her in there. But, how do I explain to her, hey, this is not a victimizing experience, even though you feel traumatized. We're actually doing some tests here to see if we can help your physical being adapt a little bit better to a very toxic environment. So there's all kinds of things that happen with our otherworldly mentors that are actually part and parcel of our voluntary participation in a program in which we're looking, and our otherworldly mentors are looking at what happens to a species who's living in a toxic environment.
Yeah.
As we could include our planet. And so, what is the end effect of that? And so some of us are participating in that.
Yes,
and we're not
absolutely.
Even, so, heck, even people who, get cancers or Alzheimer's, there's something called a medical trial, right? They sign up for those things.
Yeah.
So spiritual beings do that between soul groups, and those soul groups sometimes are not human. Do you have a second question?
Yeah, and before we go to that next question, I just wanted to say they have saved me twice now. They've kept me alive, whoever they are, the extraterrestrials or what have you. And even in the first time that I remember, they said you had to keep your eyes closed, which wasn't so good. But I did open them a peep to see what they were doing to me. And they said to me, we have to do this or you're going to die. And they asked my permission, Lizette, to do it, which I thought was absolutely amazing. And so, they kind of gave me the choice of living or dying. And I said, well, I go for it, do whatever you got to do to fix me. So it was quite an interesting experience. So anyhow, I just wanted to share that with you. And then Red Shift out of the chat room says, he wants to know, Lizette, are there any other fellow experiencers, the well-known ones, whom you can identify with or can see parallels with her own experiences with theirs? Any of the, like Whitley Strieber or, the Barbara Lamb? I mean, I can go on and on. Anybody out there you relate to?
Here's a really weird admission. I'm not well read in the UFO literature. I don't read UFO. I don't know who anybody is. Is that weird?
No, that's okay, and I don't blame you. As a matter of fact, I probably wouldn't have been myself if I hadn't been kind of lured into it for a reason that I now know why. I was going to be interviewing all these people, so I needed to know who they all were and what they were all about.
I do. I have read, years ago, I read Daniel Brinkley's stuff. I love his work. And I guess it's because, to me, my experiences, because it involves looking at, behind the veil of this amazing, achieving a remarkable comprehension of a universal life plan for me. To me, it's not so typical in the UFO literature because my focus is always taking people away from the details of the hardware, the details of how many fingers they have, because ultimately I keep, helping people to see deeper into the heartbeat of their very lives. And so as a result, the material that I read is not necessarily about contact, because it's the same as though I would be reading human biographies about just other people. In other words, there are so many different possible experiences, right? Ultimately, whether they're worldly or otherworldly, ultimately, what are we doing with those experiences? What are we doing? How have we grown as a result of them? So I tend to be always looking deeper, 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 not at chronicling, the phenomena of it, but more looking. So what I read is about spiritual enlightenment. I read about people who are overcoming trauma and moving into a state of grace. To me, that is the material that interests me, because the extraterrestrials inspired it in me, because they themselves are evolved. And as I said, I always wanted what they have.
Wow. That's amazing. Do you know who Baba Ram Das is, I'm sure?
Yeah.
I hope. Oh, I love him. He wrote a book called Be Here Now back when I was 13 years old. Yeah. And it's been by my side off and on ever since. And I think that truly sums it up for the aliens, the ETs, the Galactic Federation, and myself, is we all have to be here now. We all have to deal with what we're doing in the moment. And that's just kind of where I'm at. And it sounds like you might be a little of that too.
Yeah, I guess I am.
Yeah, you just got to kind of be here and do what you're supposed to be doing and evolve, and it's wonderful. So Lizette, I got to say, we have like less than a minute left. I can't believe how fast this has gone. You have just blown my mind. You are an amazingly insightful woman, and I really enjoyed having you on the show tonight. And please come back in a few months and be with us again. And this time we'll really dig into your books. We just really never got there. We just kind of kept going to other places, which was fun. But next time we definitely got to get into the books, and we'll see you at another conference somewhere down the road, and it'll be lots of fun. So everyone, good night. And Lisette Larkins, thank you again. That's LizetteLarkins.com with an S, Lisette, Larkins with an S.com. Check her out and get her books. They're fascinating. Everyone have a great week. We'll see you from UFO Congress next Wednesday night. Good night, everybody.